so welcome. Tonight we are covering or learning the Queen versus Rook Endgame, and my chess dojo friend QuadX, he also told me like, Jan, why don't we learn the Queen versus Rook Endgame? And I always thought this is over my head for now, as this is supposed to be one of the more difficult end games, but why not? My international master coach, Balint Naji, he was suggesting that we are doing this course. And if I take a look at it in Chessable, it says it's for intermediate players and advanced players. So maybe it's quite all right. And we're doing this as always. I'm going to present the course and then we go right into the material, of course. And today I was at a bakery and I got a free fortune cookie. So, what is the motto of the day? So, we'll just check this right now before we start. Hold on. So, it is only in German, I think. Fortune is a mosaic and it's consisting out of lots of invisible little Freuden. Freuden would mean little pieces of happiness. Yeah. So it's not a major thing, it's all these little things that we usually don't notice. Okay, so one of my happinesses here is that today I'm hopefully going to learn the Queen versus Rook endgame. And yeah, I'm always happy if I can learn something and hopefully use it later in a game. So we are going to start right now, and I'm probably having to set up something in OBS here so we can see everything correctly, but for now we start with the course. So what is it? It is by Chessable. Chessable should be well known by now. It's a service that gives you courses and you can just go through the courses. It's basically like digital books with the Move Trainer system. Move Trainer is something where you can learn positions and the info behind them, of course, and you just get them in repetition for review. But the clue is that not every card, I'd say, is given to you, only the cards that you don't know before. So stuff that you already got into your head, into your memory, it's not being presented or not as much presented as the stuff that you don't know. And that way you learn pretty quickly. So as always, I'm going to take a look through the course. It is done by Rookshelf. It has close to 5 stars, 4.73 rating by 260 Chessable users. It is recommended, as said, for intermediate players, advanced players. Language is English. We have quite a lot of stuff to read. Trainable variations 130, alternative variations 12, informational variations 90. So that's lots of stuff we have to take a look at. It's from May 2022. It's has a support level high, and yeah, it's a community course. That's why it's free on Chessable. What are we going to do here? I'm going to read through the full thing. Master the tricky queen versus rook endgame. The queen and king versus rook and king endgame, in theory, is supposed to be a fairly easy win for the side with the queen. But are you able to squeeze out the win when you need to? Can you outsmart your opponent into a draw if you have the rook? The Queen vs. Rook Endgame by Rookshelf focuses on practical examples and trains your pattern recognition so that you can confidently win when you're on the side with a queen, even against much stronger opponents. It also teaches you the best way to try to edge out a draw with the 50 move rule if you're on the side with a rook. This course is tailored to intermediate players up to experts and is a comprehensive course on such positions. It is broken down into 3 courses of different length: an ultra short course around 50 trainable lines, a short course around 70 trainable lines, and the full course around 130 trainable lines. All are included in this course, and you can work your way up based on your needs. I think I'm going to do the full course as I probably need it. We find out. Rookshelf is a former club player who reached a peak rating of around 2000. Lichess, FIDE, UCSF, or we don't know. A lifelong aficionado of endgames, when crafting this course, he significantly improved to be able to consistently beat top engines such as Stockfish and Leela Chess Zero in difficult positions with the queen in this endgame. With this course, you can expect to see similar results. What's in this course? You will learn the main patterns you will see in these types of endgames, referred to as formations, i.e. the arrangement of all 4 pieces relevant to each other. How to identify formations correctly, be aware of how close the other side is to winning with optimal play, know basic strategic ideas, and calculate and remember exact sequences. Learn when it's best to make a waiting move versus when to make a forcing move. Learn easy rules of thumb and geometric patterns such as the triangle, plank, cage, and tower formations, plus many more. How to exploit stalemate as the defending side, and a brief history of this endgame and a collection of annotated illustrative games. Your overall broad awareness and calculation will improve after studying this tricky endgame. Okay, so this is all looking good, and then we can basically start. So I click on Get for Free. Yes, I'm now on the free course and I can start learning. Okay. Now I have to check OBS, the software that is doing the broadcasting here, if you can see everything quite nicely. Okay, I can extend this a little. Hold on. Okay, and here, this should be fine now, I think. Yes. Okay, just to make this a little nicer aligned. Okay. So we are good to go, I think. Is this too large? Let's see what's behind it. Please read this first. Yes, we're doing this a little smaller. Like this. And we should be good now. All right. So, 1.1, please read this first. Important. Even if you always skip the intro, please read this page before jumping ahead to chapter 2. I'm not the guy of skipping, yeah, and I always read everything in such a course. I expect most players seeing this course for the first time will think it's far too long for such a rare ending, and they'd be absolutely right. So as a training resource, I've made it 3 courses in one. I call them the full course, the short course, and the ultra short course. The full course has over 120 trainable variations, nearly 140 including alternates. The short course has around 70 and the ultra short course has fewer than 50 lines. In my opinion, starting with the short course is best. Oh, if he thinks it's the best, then we do this. Adjusting the Chessable priority lines settings and pausing entire chapters are how you can choose which course to study. How do I do this? We'll find it out. The full and short courses. By default, Chessable shows you the full course. Setting the Learn selection box in your course options panel to priority only will switch to the short course. Every topic and page that is only for the full course will be hidden. You can find this panel on the course page or any chapter contents page. Okay, so I'm going to check here, settings, priority only. So let's see. Okay. It's probably not in here because these look like main Chessable settings. Okay, I will hold on. Switch to short. Okay, so we'll find out where that is. Mm-hmm. Okay, so we need to do this, as he says, we really need to do this. Okay, so the short course. Even the 70 odd trainable lines in the short course may be more than some readers will want. So here's a third option. You can prune the short course down to ultra short course as follows. No, we are not going to do the ultra short course because, as Barland always says, I'm kind of a chess baby, so that's totally fine, of course. Okay, so then I need to find this setting, and the setting is, again, let's take a look. By default, Chessable shows you the full course, setting the Learn selection box in your course options panel to priority only. Okay, so let's find it. We go to here, priority lines only. This looks pretty all right. So I clicked on it. Priority lines only. What happens if I go here? Yes, it gets shorter, the line. Okay. So priority only. Click on it and the helpline. Okay. Okay, but I also like to find out if this is here. Learn priority only. Yes, it worked pretty well. Alrighty. So we have done this now and we are good. So we can just start the course now. Thanks for reading. Right, that's the absolute must-read part of the introduction chapter sorted. If content like my bibliography and the history of this ending will bore you, here's the easiest way to skip. Go to the contents page for the chapter and select pause all variations from the chapter options panel. Then go back to the course overview, hit learn next, and you'll straight. No, I'm quite interested in everything here, so we are going through this. So about this course, the aims. This course is primarily written for anyone with a keen interest in the pawnless queen versus rook ending. It's also intended to be a guide to improving your playing strength and chances of success, i.e. winning with the queen and drawing with the rook. Most instruction is based on training positions playing with the queen. There are also some positions where we take the defending side. The course does not try to teach optimal play, while the 50 move rule makes near optimal play important. There are times where it is a good practical choice to play a move that lengthens the win but makes it simpler if you have the queen, or shortens the loss but makes it more complex if you have the rook. For main concept, my main concept for learning this ending is a set of formations which you can use as prominent landmarks. These are useful, but they do not eliminate the need for calculation. Structure. Most of the theory in this course is how to finish off positions that are fairly close to victory when you have the queen. What about winning with the queen from more complex positions? I believe it's possible to use the general themes, see chapter 2, and my named formations, see chapter 3, to make progress to a position you know how to win. From any queen versus rook starting position, you can only control your own moves, but you can steer the game towards formations you know. And from there, you will have some general knowledge to apply. What about when you have the rook? I provide some training variations, but learning how to defend this ending mostly involves learning how to win with the queen, so that when you're on the defensive side, you can do your best to frustrate the same plans. You choose if your opponent was stuck with a rook instead. Okay. Visual cues. For arrows and circles that occasionally appear on the main board after a main line move. I have tried to apply a consistent system as follows: green for intended moves, red for tactical threats including checkmate, a fork or a skewer, yellow for guarding a square so an enemy piece cannot move there, and blue for certain common patterns such as when the attacking king and defending rook share a diagonal. Okay. Continue. And about the author. I'm a former club level player in my late 40s as of 2022 when I wrote this, who reached a FIDE comparable national rating around 2000 in my 20s and then gave up chess completely for 2 decades. Since late 2019, I've started enjoying chess as a hobby once again, particularly endgames and puzzles, but I haven't resumed competitive tournaments. Endings were always my main chess interest, and I've recently revived and improved on much of my old knowledge studying multiple Chessable courses and books. I don't really know what my current chess strength is, but if you want to know where I fit in Chessable's 5 skill levels, beginner, casual, intermediate, advanced, expert, I think I'd be advanced in most endings, expert in a few select endings, including pawnless queen versus rook, thanks to my research for this course, and intermediate in other aspects of the game. So, history is kind of always interesting to me, so we go through this. Our timeline stretches back over half a millennium. The history of pawnless endgames in general is even older. Some pieces have no chance changed to their standard rules of movement for 1,000 years, and there is analysis of pawnless rook versus knight in a manuscript from the year 1140. 1400s. The most recent change affecting the way pieces move in this endgame was in the late 15th century, when the queen was given its current long-range powers, first in Spain, then spreading throughout Europe. I don't know about you guys, I really like this information, it's interesting. Okay. So, therefore, the very first game reaching king plus queen versus king plus rook, as we know it today, aside from the 50-move rule, probably happened more than 500 years ago. Oh my goodness, and I still learn this. Okay, cool. Technically, castling rules have changed since then, but only a contrived game would reach this ending with castling still available. Here's a position where it alters the outcome. Okay. Long castling draws. Okay, I just take it as is now. 1700s. The earliest recorded studies in this ending date back to the late 18th century, and notable cases can be found in the next chapter. These include Philitor's win, 1777, and Ponciani's draw, 1782. 1800s. The next substantial contributions are from the late 19th century, from 2 endgame study composers in particular, Johann Berger and Alfred Crosskill. Several positions in GM John Nunn's 1994 book Secrets of Pawnless Endings are attributed Berger 1889, but I'm not aware that publications by Berger, if any, are available online today. Alfred Crosskill is widely accepted to be the author of an anonymous 1895 book of nearly 150 pages solely on the king and queen versus king and rook ending. That's amazing, and I'm immediately intrigued to see if I can get it, just because I would like to have it. Okay. Yes, I'll check that later on. Okay. So, Crosskill's book, printed 80 years before computers analyzed every position to perfection, in what we now call table bases, had some errors but was remarkably accurate overall. It showed the ending to be far more difficult than was commonly thought. However, it did not gain much attention. Even GM John Nunn was apparently unaware of the 1895 book when he wrote Secrets of Pawnless Endings almost 100 years later, because his Queen vs. Rook chapter makes no mention of it. 1950s. I'm unsure to what extent GM Max Euwe, world champion 1935 to 1937, studied this ending, but a couple of the diagrams in Nunn's aforementioned 1994 book are attributed Euwe 1958. A more accurate attribution might be Crosskill 1895, because they had already been studied to similar depth and perhaps similar accuracy, although I've not closely compared them by Crosskill in his book. 1970s. In the late 70s, computing technology reached the point where a complete perfect database of every legal position in this ending could be created, known as a table base today. Although that term was first used around 1995, the mystery of the longest win for Queen versus Rook was thereby solved. It takes at most 31 moves to capture the Rook or deliver checkmate. The first notable victim of the table base was American GM Walter Brown. In December 1978, he accepted a $100 bet to play a randomly selected 31 move longest win position with the Queen against perfect table-based defense. To win, he needed to capture the Rook or checkmate within the 50 move limit. He lost the bet, agreeing to a draw after 45 moves, with the win still 13 moves away. But he was granted a rematch a few weeks later, starting from a different random 31 move longest win position. He won this game, capturing the Rook just in time on move 50. This can be found in the Illustrative Master Games chapter, where they are game 1 and 2 of this course, of course. Okay. So, 1990s. GM John Nunn published Secrets of Pawnless Endings, 1994, a book I have already mentioned earlier. Its 21st page chapter, Queen vs. Rook, was the first fairly comprehensive table-based checked practical guide for this ending. And today, whenever a non-trivial king and queen versus king and rook position occurs in a game between two strong players, even two grandmasters, the material advantage is usually decisive, but the result is far from certain. Depending on player fatigue, the time control, and tournament conditions, the player with the rook might survive long enough to claim a draw by the 50-move rule or even find a perpetual check. Nice, I like that. Really interesting. Usually we don't get this history information. Okay, cool. So, in compiling this course, I have used a number of sources as follows. Table bases. The king and queen versus king and rook table base has been by far my most important and most used reference. Setting up many positions, looking at the DTZ distance to a win of each move, and playing out many optimal and near optimal paths. From this, I identified the patterns I wanted to name as formations and the paths I wanted to recommend. Nunn 1994. Secrets of Pawnless Endings by GM John Nunn has 3 editions to my knowledge. First edition, Batsford 1994, revised and expanded editions, Gambit Publications 2002, electronic edition, Gambit Publications 2014. The easiest way to obtain this book is the electronic edition. It is not published here on Chessable, perhaps one day, but it is available directly from the publisher through their Gambit Chess Studio Android iOS app. Okay. GM Nunn packed a fairly comprehensive guide to this ending into the 21 pages of the Queen vs. Rook chapter. Its 32 numbered diagrams include several of the positions I have named as formations, but he has not given them names like I have. He ends the chapter with this sentence: "Not the most interesting chapter, but useful for over-the-board players." I strongly disagree with the first part, of course. For me, Queen vs. Rook is one of the most interesting pawnless endgames. Then, Crosskill 1895. This is the book analysis of the chess ending King and Queen against King and Rook, written by the pseudonym Euclid and edited by Edward Freeborough. The actual author is generally accepted to be the British chess player and endgame analyst Alfred Crosskill, 1829 to 1904. With copyright long expired, it is freely available on the internet, including here. I already said I want to get a copy, maybe just to have it, but yeah, freely available. You cannot touch this, you cannot smell it, and the haptic is not here, so books are always great, of course. Chessable does not provide any way to make external links clickable, so you'll need to copy and paste my links to other sources to visit them. All right. Crosskill's book takes the famous Philidor position with the king on the b8 square and analyzes it shifted across the 8th and 7th ranks. It's rather a difficult read on its own due to a rather arcane and elaborate arrangement of positions and the old descriptive notation. Only people with a very keen interest in the history of this ending would pay it any attention today. Okay. Beasley 2001. I have read a few parts of Crosskill's 1895 book directly, but I mainly relied on an interesting and much shorter, at only 8 pages, summary of it. Special number 25, June 2001, of John Beasley's British Endgame Study News. It's titled K plus Q versus K plus R, the work of Alfred Crosskill. At the time I wrote this, it was available online at Beasley compares the previous two sources, Nunn and Crosskill, and points out a few positions where Crosskill got it rather wrong, and more where he was absolutely correct decades before table bases. Then Chessable, there are at least a few Chessable courses with some instruction on this endgame. Dvoretsky's Endgame Manual, 5th edition, has a chapter about it. Okay. Basic Endgames is a free course by community author Theory Hack. It has a Queen vs. Rook chapter with Ponciani's draw and a useful coverage of 2 key winning positions. Also nice. Winning Endgame Tactics, Advanced Queen Maneuvers by I. M. Thomas Willemse has a few chapters that covers pawnless Queen vs. Rook. Other books, here are some books I own but I have not used for researching this course. Okay, we just scrolled through them. Okay, then a contemporary source I did not use because I did not know about it until I'd almost finished writing this course is Derek Grimmel's Queen vs. Rook YouTube channel. He has a YouTube channel only about Queen vs. Rook? I check that out later on. That sounds like pretty cool. Okay, so just checking shortly. Okay, this all looks good. Then acknowledgements. A huge thanks to the Chessable users who gave their time as testers. I had 2 phases of testing, first from early testers BCVCB, Reformed Bishop and others, followed by beta testing from Comfortable, DeErtl and others. In addition to spotting typos and inconsistent lines, their feedback helped to vastly improve the structure of this course. I'm more than happy to mention each tester by name here, but only with permission. So if you took part in any testing phase and you are happy for your name to be included, please let me know. Okay. Statistics. The classic books 100 Endgames You Must Know by G.M. Jesus de la Villa presents a table of statistics on how often various endings have been reached and how often they were drawn. Here's a similar summary for Pawnless Queen vs. Rook, which that book does not cover. Frequency in master games. In my database of over 3 million mostly master level games, our ending of King and Queen versus King and Rook is reached about once every 1,200 games. Why should I learn it? Just kidding. That includes trivial cases with an immediate way for one side to resolve the result quickly. When the search is restricted to games that remain Queen versus Rook for at least 3 moves by each side, just over half are eliminated. This suggests that non-trivial positions in this ending are reached approximately once every 2,500 games. Okay. Results in master games. Of those 1 in 1,200 master level games reaching any pawnless Queen vs. Rook position, around 50% were drawn. This is very cool to me, as I think the masters should know how to win these positions, but obviously they're not. This may be a surprising result, yes it is. However, the data set includes many trivial cases where the side with the rook has an immediate tactical resource. If once again we restrict the search to games that remain Queen versus Rook for at least 3 moves by each side, the proportion of drawn games drops to only 11%. This indicates that in a master play, excluding the trivial cases, the side with the queen wins nearly 90% of the time. Okay. Frequency below master level, so that's pretty much me. To measure this, I used a subset of the Lichess database, sampling only rapid, standard, and classical time controls. Blitz and faster time controls and correspondence games were excluded. I found that pawnless queen versus rook positions were reached around once every 1000 games. When the search was restricted to games that remain in this ending for 3 moves each side, the frequency was closer than every 3000 games. That's similar to what I found in the Master Games database. Is this indicative of how often you will see this ending? I cannot answer this because it depends a lot on your playing style. Most pawnless queen versus rook positions arise from rook and pawn endings, and you'll see those far more often if you like them than if you dislike them and avoid them. G.M. de la Villa made an interesting point on this subject in his aforementioned book. He noted that the excuse, "my games never reach the endgame," tends to be used by players who avoid endgames deliberately, and such players often lose in the middle game as a direct result. This frequency statistic will be disappointing if you're hoping to see this ending often, and it imposes a rather harsh limit on the practicable utility of my course. Even if you enjoy rook endings and reach them more often than the average player in your rating range, it's still hard to justify learning my 50 queen versus rook trainable lines in the ultra short course, let alone 70 in the short course or 120 plus in the full course. If your primary aim is to get the greatest practical improvement from the limited time you have available to study chess, pawnless queen versus rook does not stack up as a good use of your time. But chess doesn't need to be all about drilling tactics. I hope that there's a place for a course such as this, for players who enjoy the endgame. It's certainly one I'd enjoy reading if someone else had written it. And here's something that I find very interesting. Grandmaster Jesse Cry, he's always saying, do your Polgar mates mate in twos usually. And yeah, during the seniors US championships, he won a game made in two, found it, and was really happy, I think. So if I ever get a queen versus rook endgame and I win it, I'm for sure will highlight this, and I will do a video about it, of course. So, results below master level: of those 1 in 1000 games in the Lichess database that reach our ending, around half were draws. Again, this is largely due to trivial finishes. For the games that remained in pawnless queen versus rook for 3 moves by each side, the draw rate dropped to around 25%, leaving a win rate of around 75%. That is significantly lower than the equivalent, near 90-ish percent, win rate in master games. This difference does not surprise me, because below master strength, it can be a difficult challenge for the player with the queen to make any progress if the defender is able to keep their king and rook huddled together. Of course, these results are from games by players who have mostly likely never spent much, if any, time practicing this ending. If you studied it and your opponent has not, you should be able to nudge both of those numbers in your favor. How much? I reckon perhaps 25%, meaning that at club expert level, a near 100% chance of winning with the queen and a 50% chance of drawing with the rook should be achievable when starting this ending from a non-trivial position, if you have the advantage of specific queen versus rook knowledge that your otherwise evenly unmatched opponent lacks. We have a glossary. Here are some terms and their meanings in this course. Backrank defense. This is any position where the defending king and rook are on the same edge of the board. Okay. Distance to win. See winning distance below. Will do. Distant rook. A positional feature where the rook is a long distance from its king. Faster, fastest. Move A is faster than move B if it has a smaller winning distance. defined below. In a winning position, any optimal move is one with the fastest win. Yes. Formation. A formation is a certain arrangement of all four pieces in this ending relative to each other. Formations are the main tool I've used to classify and arrange the theory of this endgame. Okay. Fourth rank defense. This is any position where the rook is established 3 squares in from a board edge, e.g. on the 5th rank or 4th rank, or d file or e file. Okay. With its own king equally close or closer to the same edge, and the enemy king further away from the edge. Okay. Optimal. In a winning position, the set of optimal moves will be those that have the shortest winning distance, defined below. Similarly, in a losing position, an optimal move is one with the longest or equal longest if there are more than one of them winning distance. In a drawn position, any move that retains the draw is optimal. Position. Of course, I don't need to tell anyone reading a chess course what a position is, but let me clarify how I use the term. Pawnless chess endings are effectively chess in zero gravity. There is no up or down, no left or right. To master this ending, it is essential to be able to spot known positions by any reflection rotation of the board. I don't want to need to write by rotation or by reflection everywhere, so I assume the term position to automatically include all equivalents. Okay. A simple example. Philidor's win, aka the Philidor, which is very first position of the next chapter, is usually presented with the attacking king on c6. Okay, so I just skipped this one for now, as it comes in the next sector. Here, essential knowledge. Reciprocal Zugzwang, a special instance of Zugzwang where the disadvantage of being the side to move is so strong that it alters the theoretical result, ignoring the 50-move rule. This definition of reciprocal Zugzwang was introduced by G.M. John Nunn in several of his endgame books and has been adopted by other authors. For our endgame, it would mean a position where the side with the queen having the move can only draw, but the side with the rook having the move loses. However, pawnless queen versus rook on an 8-8 board actually has none of these. Zugzwang is still an important concept in this course, despite there being none of the reciprocal type. There are positions where the player with the queen has an objectively shorter win and or a subjectively easier win if it's the defender turn to move. The remainder of this glossary entry is a mathematical discussion of reciprocal Zugzwang in our ending. I have included it for anyone who, like me, enjoys topics where the fields of mathematics and chess intersect. Most readers will want to skip it. Okay. The lack of reciprocal Zugzwang in Queen vs. Rook is expected because it is a corollary. I've never heard the word in English. Of a more general fact about this ending. Every position where the side with the queen has the move and is neither in check nor pinned by the rook is winning 50 move limit notwithstanding. Any reciprocal Zugzwang would be an exception disproving this fact. The mathematical question of whether the absence of reciprocal Zugzwang is a property inherent to this set of 4 pieces or dependent on our standard 8x8 board size has been solved. I'm not sure who did it first, by adapting table-based software to arbitrary board sizes. This revealed that king plus queen versus king plus rook has no reciprocal Zugzwang positions up to a 15 times 15 board, but has some on a 16 times 16 board, i.e. 4 standard chessboards pushed together. Personally, I think our chess game is complex enough on 64 squares. Yes, it is. Second rank defense. This is any position where the rook is established 1 square in from a board edge, e.g. on the 7th rank, or second ranked, or b file or g file, with its king equally close or closer to that same edge and the enemy king further away from that edge. Okay. Shared diagonal. Positional feature where the defending rook and the attacking king are on the same diagonal. Slower slowest. Move A is slower than move B. It has if it has a larger winning distance. Defined below, in a losing position, any optimal move is one of these lowest loss. Sweeping. This is the term I use for a situation where an optimal or near optimal sequence of moves from a position sees the same arrangement of pieces shifted one square across the board, usually one square left, in my orientation of formations. A few moves later, and then shifted one further square a few moves after that, and so on until the edge of the board is reached. Okay. Table base. A table base contains the complete perfect analysis of every single position with a particular set of material. Our ending has had a table base since the late 1970s. Okay. Third rank defense before we go to the winning distance that has been referred to all the time. Third rank defense. This is any position where the rook is established two squares in from a board edge, e.g. on the 6th rank or 3rd rank, or c file or f file, with its own king equally close or closer to that same edge. Sorry guys, and the enemy king further away from that edge. Winning distance. When using table bases, multiple metrics for measuring the distance to win are common. One is distance to mate, known as DTM, distance to mate. Another is distance to zeroing the 50 move counter, known as DTZ. For practical purposes, only DTZ is of interest to me. Our goal in a winning position with the queen is to mate or capture the rook within 50 moves. And it is irrelevant whether a rook capture, provided it doesn't stay mate of course, leaves the opponent lone king facing checkmate next move or 9 moves later. Our goal in a losing position with the rook is to survive 50 moves, regardless how many extra moves we might survive with the lone king once the rook is taken. The distance can also be counted in ply, moves by each side, or full moves. I count the winning distance as moves by the winning side, okay, including the move that zeroes the move counter. This means every king and queen with this king and rook position, where the side with the queen has an immediate checkmate or has an immediate winning capture of the rook, i.e. a capture that isn't stalemate and doesn't lose the queen, has a winning distance of one move. Yes, well understood. Okay, so we're done with the glossary. We're continuing and having the alternative moves, aka soft fails. So, before we move on to the chapters with trainable variations, I'd like to explain how I've determined alternate moves, soft fails, in this course. Assigning soft fails is a subjective and difficult task in any Chessable course. I believe it's harder for an endgame course, and especially so for a pawnless ending like ours, where the 50 move counter is very important. Most positions in this course are ones where you have the queen and most moves win. But some win faster than others. The spread of winning distances can be large. In some cases, a poor winning move might delay the win by 20 moves or more. Yeah, you have to start from the start again. Okay. Allowing all winning moves as a soft fail alternates would destroy the effectiveness of this course. Sorry. As a training tool, if it's almost impossible to get a trainable variation wrong. Chessable spaced repetition won't be able to help you learn it by adjusting how often it comes up for review. At the other extreme, only allowing moves that win equally has fact as my selected move, or faster, in cases where I've deliberately chosen a longer win for simplicity, would also make the course less useful. If it's too hard to get a trainable variation correct despite making sensible move choices, the result is frustration. I've tried to achieve an effective balance somewhere in between these extremes. Usually all moves up to around 4 moves slower than optimal are allowed as alternates, but it's not an exact formula. But I've also taken the stance that allowed alternate moves should offer genuine independent progress. For example, in a position where we have the queen Any move that is 2 moves slower than my recommendation and offers a different path to victory would normally be included as a soft fail. However, if that 2 move slower path requires returning to our original position, then I think it's fair for that alternative to be a hard fail. Yes, that is perfectly fine, of course. Okay. So, finally, after 46 minutes, we are having finished the first chapter and didn't check one single variation, but that's totally cool. It's like normal thing. You read a book, the author leads you with a forward and everything, so it finally starts. Okay, and before that, I'm going to drink something quickly. Hold on. Okay, sorry, here I'm back and we are starting now. So, Essentials 1, Philidor's Win. Our essential knowledge begins with the oldest named position in this ending, Philidor, 1777. You should know how to win confidently from Philidor's position, regardless of the side to move, if you have the queen. When you have the rook, you should expect your opponent can do the same, therefore try to avoid it for as long as possible. Okay. So, Philidor 1777. Philidor's win is the most famous position of this endgame and absolutely essential to know for either side to move. It is so prevalent in the final stages of this ending that I simply call it the Philidor. I suspect there are many players among a range of playing strength whose knowledge of pawnless queen versus rook consists of this position and nothing else. I was one of them before I started my research of this course. François-André Danican Philidor, 1726 to 1795, showed that it is a Zugzwang position and a particular type that I personally call a triangulation Zugzwang. I use the term for a position where the best plan of the stronger side, having the move, is to force the same position to occur with the weaker side to move. This often happens by triangulation in pawn endings, where the attacking king can move in a triangle, while the defending king is forced to shuffle between only 2 squares. Here the queen does the triangulation instead. Your move, queen to e5, check. Let's see here. Queen d5 wins just as fast and gives black ways to lose a bit faster. It will be examined on the next page. Okay. 1 queen a6 is the slowest move that still wins, costing 8 moves. Rook c7, king d6, rook d7 check exploits a stalemate threat to drive our king away. Okay. So it is white to play, and I think we are playing e5. That was correct. Black's move is now king a7. And we are having okay, hold on. It's the same outcome. You move queen a1 check, king a8, queen a1, king b8, queen a5 is the same outcome. Okay, move was queen a1 check. White to play. We are going to play a1 here. Okay. The queen has been triangulated, reaching the philidor with the defending side to move. It's exactly the same position, but earlier on we had to move, and now it is a black side to move. That's what I understand. All right. So white to play, and we are just going back to the same position as before. Okay. Now it's something new, as it's now black's turn to move. And black's move king c8. This loses immediately. Better attempts are examined separately over the next few pages. So our move is queen a6, pinning and winning the rook. For queen a8 check and queen e5 are also fine, only one move slower. Yeah, I like to learn the fastest moves, please. Okay. So what happens with queen f5? Check. It costs 5 more moves. Okay, so I'm not even checking it then. Okay. So going to the next one here. And it is white to play. And we are going here now, pinning the rook. As the Chessable move trainer and is based on repetition, it's now being forced that we are repeating this 3 times. Okay. Okay, and we are already good. Got it, and we can go to the next one. Okay. So here we are having the queen to move, and we learned a1 is the rule to go. Then we are having to finish the triangulation. Well done. And now we are pinning the rook, so the rook is lost. Okay, and we have to repeat it again. So here we are giving the check. We are giving the check. We finish the triangulation. This time black has to move, and we are pinning the rook. We do this again. I learned that it's 7 times necessary to get something into your head from the short memory term. So 7 times short memory has a good chance to make that info stick in your long-term memory. Yes, and that's why this Chessable method is so nice. So we can basically just get this into our heads. So we're doing this again. It is check. Ah, we already did the triangulation. Sorry, I was talking. So, well, wasn't it? Did I miss something? No, I was all right. Okay. So this is now completed. So we are good. And you guys will see afterwards, we will get these positions as review, and it will be drilled in over time and time. Okay. So next variation, learn the alternative. No, I don't like to learn the alternative as I'm in the short course. So I will skip this line. Okay. Good. Then we have the Philidor rook to move. Let's start with the rook running all the way down the b file. We will look at other plausible rook moves separately. Okay. So this time it is the rook to move. Before that we had the king to c8. And this time the rook is moving. Okay, so we are going to b1 here. And let's check. The other rook moves are studied on the next 3 pages. Okay. And our move here now, if we go to b1, is queen e5. Yes. Then queen d8 check is equally fast, and queen c7 plus prolongs the win by 1 move. For consistency, I've chosen a check from e5 against all the plausible distant rook moves, sending the rook down the b file or across the 7th rank from our starting fiddle position. Okay. Okay, here the queen move is check. Now, black's move is king a7, and we have king a8, queen h8 check transposes to the main line a move faster. Okay, so as black, our goal is to make it as hard as possible for the enemy for the white's queen and king. So we should probably play this. Okay. So we have now queen d4. Anything else is at least 2 moves slower. Okay. In particular, queen g7 is risky because, okay, so I'm usually not going to learn these or read these even, yeah, because I want the fast ones to learn, of course. Okay, so the purpose of our mainline move, checking on d4, is twofold. To have a check from h8 if the king goes to the 8th rank, and instant mate on a4 if the king goes to a6. Makes sense, right? So next, what to play here? What to play? We give it a check on d4. Yes. Now the king goes to a8, and king b8 would be a check with the usual fork on h7, the next move. Yes, okay. So our move then here after king a8 would be cage queen h8. Okay, next. Now we have the check here. And black's move is king a7, only move to go. And rook b8, well, it's not the only move to go. We have this one here. Rook b8 loses much faster. Queen a1 would be a checkmate immediately. So that's why he has to go with the king to a7. And our move by then is just double attack. Queen h7 check, it's a fork, and of course blocking the check from rook b7 allows queen takes b7 checkmate. Yes, makes perfect sense. Okay, so we are continuing here. And here we just go for the fork. And then we can just take it and have a mate in 2. Okay. So taking it, having the mate in 2. Now we start from the beginning here, and we just check. We give another, we give another check, but on d4. Correct. Now we give it a check here, and we can now give the double attack, take the rook with the mate in 2. And again, check, 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 fork, take, checkmate in 2. Okay, so this was nice, and with that, 1 hour is over. And yeah, we covered the introduction. We went into the initial moves, and we will continue on a later date. Yeah, I'm going to give this a yeah, it's going to be a series with different parts. So this was part one. I really liked the chess history part. Then, of course, the information about the statistics and so on. So I'm looking forward to do this in like small bits so we can learn this together. Thank you guys, and wishing you a very good night for now. Bye bye and see you later.